Zero ends. Zero ends. This is a late night edition. As you know, this is Zero Ends. Zero Ends channel here. As you know, I am Zero Ends. Formerly noticed. Now, as you know, tonight, and I should call it Zero Ends After Dark, but not tonight. As a man, and like any other person that roams through audio and videos that I view and watch, I've noticed there's very much a trend here going on here. And this trend is very ongoing amongst people in general. I would say probably black people too, but people in general. And one thing is known, that when people talk about we live in a very much sick world, they're not lying. I feel one of the problems that plagues other groups of people, but let's say black people, what plagues them the most is their willingness to not play their role gender-wise. And the consequence of doing all this is what you see in front of you now. We find that women don't want to not only be like women, but also want to be combated against actual men. And we see a lot of men acting and conduct themselves like women, even to the point they'll run down and argue a man like a female. Nonetheless, the gender roles and the gender confusion is real out here. And potentially in the future of this channel, there will probably be a book series dealing with I would say the confusion of people. And it's going to be more of a base book written by Mr. Baruti will be the focus of this discussion in regards to confusion. So be on the lookout for that. If you're new to this podcast or this live stream, don't be hesitant, subscribe to it. Be a part of this channel. And if you have any ideals, always a comment would be better than nothing. It'll go a long way. I probably will be able to look at it more faster if you do a comment during every podcast live stream. That would be helpful. But yeah, nonetheless, that the confusion is real. And I don't know if y'all ever notice, particularly when it comes to certain communities, that especially amongst black people, we have very much a burden of actually marrying one another and building something with each other, which will leave eventually a legacy for not only ourselves but for our children. And I have a problem with that. But nonetheless, I think one of the biggest issues that will face a lot of non-white people move forward in the 21st century is how we're going to deal with and cope with our mental illness, whether we want to address it or not. I know black people, particularly, do not want to deal with their mental problems, the traumas they face, whether they got scarred during their childhood or they got scarred from the opposite sex. Nonetheless, it is your sole responsibility as adult once you pass the age of 20 to resolve those unkept or undiagnosed issues you are facing that helps or that doesn't perpetuate to move forward in your own life. And as y'all know, the one on the Chaos Rain channel, he talks about this much times. He did even two broadcasts that deals with mental health. You go to his channel and you find it for yourself. You might have to subscribe to the channel if need be, but these things have to be addressed. One of the few things I find in regards to the males in this community is that they feel that moving and operate as an individual is the way to go, and that you are safe in a structured order that's run by other men. That you're safe, that you don't have to really do nothing at all, but just hopefully get a little hustle, not like an actual corporation, but like a little small business or a hustle. Make your little crumbs here and there, and then you think you're good. But in the world where everybody works as a conglomerate, organized groups, collective groups, usefulness, the ceiling for you as a person that's a lone wolf is actually capped off. It is so capped off that basically you might end up broke if you're not careful. Passing down what they call a little trust fund or some little stupid organization, that's not building a wealth. All groups of men throughout human existence, especially when it comes to men, have always not only had a family, but had heirs and left down some legacy. Hell, the insanity comes to play where they feel so their children, once they inherit your wealth, is going to squander it, and eventually you have to start over. But the problem with non-white men and non-white women, that you don't have nothing to really pass down if we want to keep 100. So just start and just to get yourself situated, hold a stable form of income, get maybe more than one income, and maybe having some insurance. So if something happens, you have some passed down, is a better start than anything else. And like Mr. Samuel said, you rinse, wash, and do it over again. And you do this for at least 2 to 3 generations. By the time you hit the 3rd generation, if you work, maybe save your money, maybe allocate your funds, create a little trust, have some good insurance, you pass out a little wealth here to your children if you teach them right how to do it, and they do the process. And you do this for a period of 2 generations. By the 3rd generation, if everything's done right, your next lineup of children that become adults in the 3rd should be even better. Maybe they'll even become millionaires. Some could get that in the 2nd generation, but really, if you really want to talk about actually building wealth, it takes 3s. 1, 2, and 3. 3rd time's a charm. This is my analysis in regards to how wealth could be really built amongst the community. And not only the 3rd generation, but with other people amongst the group. If you create a group that's like-minded and are proactive in, making this happen, you will have a community to start flourish this wealth that stays in the community. To have wealth in the community is not hard to non-Black people. Black man, Black woman, it's not hard. But it requires sacrifice and actual work. And if the men don't see the purpose of putting in the little effort or more effort of what they're trying to attain it, then no work gets done. You cannot wait on your female counterpart on average to really pick up some slack, because your female counterpart has been controlled and manipulated through this system psychologically. She has a very much disdainful hate and disrespect towards you to the point that she will not take on anything that you're doing well as the advocate or the authority figure or the leader amongst this little relationship you are in. I think with black relationships that will eventually lead to marriage, it is toxic. And I hear too many times from the other side, from the women's side, how men that's doing, let's say, what they're supposed to do and they're doing what they should be doing, like men being very effective in producing something to maintain at least some finance to the household, it's a problem. You find such a problem that they have to create some avenue to say, well, you might have the finance right, but you might be narcissistic. You might be this aggressive, verbal. You might just, and I can't. Well, baby, that's masculine energy. And the higher the man is in his finance, the more he's going to be more, have to take on a more role and more responsibility, especially if he's a very high wage earner. Now, regardless to his personality, all this nonsense, that's something for a fantasy world. And last time I checked, kids do kid things. But once you reach a certain age, if you don't understand male nature, which a lot of the female population doesn't know, you're going to expect that your male counterpart should act and conduct himself like a woman. And we all know that's not how human nature works. So don't even expect that's a relationship that's suitable for your perfect mate. And another thing I find interesting that when it regards to women, hold on. One thing I noticed that a lot of the non-white women, black women especially, they always say that they have been around high tier men. But when it comes to men and the definition and the criteria, baby, you're only gonna get that from actual men that is not only high tier, but lays out an actual written pamphlet, which I think the one man named Mr. Samuels has written, lays out what really is a high tier man. And the definition, which requires actual specific detail, is a necessity for the black community. It is so needed now that a lot of black people feel that people that are entertainers of the world are considered top tier. But really, the only thing they have is part of the money aspect, which is the one criteria, but is not the end all be all to be considered quote unquote top tier. You need to have other things. And I can't recite what it is right now because, like I said, this is the very first live stream. An impromptu live stream, no less. That there are many other qualities, and most of those qualities, what has been written, which I don't have on me to recite to y'all, is that it never said anything about, your man has to be what they call romantic on the average, which sometimes they are, but to sit there carrying all this other stuff. If a man's pushing more than 12 hours a day, mostly probably 16 hours to fulfill his purpose, he's not going to really have much time to really, if you want to keep 100, to suit your need like that, because he's busy trying to build his legacy, which he'll leave in time an empire, which takes time. And that's where a lot of women don't understand. Those are the men that are very much the top tier, that's over the 10%. Or I could say 10%, and with all the other additives to it. really truly, this is just me now. I feel most women don't qualify a whole bunch of them for a really top tier man, to be honest. And I hear some in the space that they had one, but when you really start ask the serious question, they don't really have actually a top tier man, because what men define actual men that is up to that level, that gives the definition what is top tier man, really gives you the real scoop what really is a top tier man. And a lot of women that said they're around men that's top tier, whether they were younger or older, doesn't fit that boat. Hell, some men that they talk about, some of them don't want to marry them because they said it's selfish money. Let me tell you something, ladies. Top tier men, on the average, is never too selfish. So right there, if a man's selfish with his money because he don't want it married so you don't get most of his money, and he's a black man, he's not top tier. So we can cut that crap and nip that in the bud. Always men that has means, actual means, is always fruitful with their resource, especially when it comes to the opposite sex. And that's one sign. And I think that's one of the most important signs. So really and truly, when I hear these women talk about their top tier or married to one, they're bullshitting. They're married to a dude that's probably making some good money. But in regards to actual top tier, no. Because you hear all these other aspects. These men are narcissistic, they're abusive, they're this and that. I hear so much garbage. Makes me sick to my stomach to think about it, just to mention it. But nonetheless, a lot of these women feels that they're top tier. But we all know that's not the case. From more detail and further questioning. So, and I'm not sure if anybody's hearing me from the airways. Let me know if I'm right or wrong. But to say this, that when we talk about top tier men, I'll say this once, say it's gay. A good majority of the non-white women, our black sisters, don't really qualify for those top 10% or greater men, because they don't stand what it takes. They don't really hold up like they really said they could. And really, be honest, a lot of them not really competing. When we look at other races of people, they're competing just to get the men that they want, just to have that life that they deserve. So, ladies, remember, it takes work. You take much time out of your day to get that degree. You're going to take some extra other time to get the man that you want to secure something long term. And isn't it ironic that a lot of the women, particularly our sisters that go out and get these degrees, then they work that 9 to 5 or whatever, it took work for you to get that, to accomplish that. So what is the difference in regards to sustaining and holding a man? Well, the only answer I give you is because now it requires you to submit to the authority of your man, particularly the man of your group, which you are already trained in this society, unfortunately, to not respect non-white authority, aka black male authority. And because of this, what you tell the average man, no matter if you're in person or in digital space, that be honestly, you have no authority to speak on who's top tier overall and who's not. And talking about say that like you're looking for a perfect relationship. Talking about say things don't work, I'm gonna get bored, I might divorce. You see the problem with this so-called American system, they made an outlet for women just to walk away if things don't go right. And to be honest with you, That's cool, but in the real world, you can't just walk out of everything. I even go in further. There's no really guarantees to anything you do in life. You marry that dude and then something happens, that's no guarantee. And what happens to a lot of black boys or non-white boys that become adults have that same thinking like their mothers. Everything has to be in a form where it's comfortable, where you can nest. And boys overall cannot operate in a world that requires them to impose and to contribute to the group, to this environment. But then again, it goes back to the philosophy that women babies their sons and train their daughters and work hard and work out and work the hell out their daughters. Because they have potentially to, like a mother, see their child, their boys become just like children. Something that you tell what to do, something you feed, nurture, all that stuff. And, you know, maybe have intercourse, who knows? But like this, like I said, you baby your sons and you be firm and strict with your daughters. And that's not by the coincidence. Well, actually, that is by coincidence, by your hands. Things that's done by design, whether black people aware of it or not, that this environment is conducive for your degradation, degeneration, and for potentially your demise. Because, as y'all know, in warfare, numbers are key. And if the non-black population for the last 80 years or 70 or 80 years were marrying upward to over 80%, up to the 60s, tells you something that what has happened is they have to play a bigger trick bag to break you up family-wise. So because of that, we're looking at the environment now 40 to hell, even close to 45 years later, the way it is now in the state is in. So now, the only solutions now moving forward, I'm not staying on this long, is that men are going to have to really take hold and control their children now. I think the women have done enough for a couple decades. It's time for the men to step up and start raising these sons and daughters, which that means they might have to go to court and get full custody for them and have the mother pay child support because I'm not going to raise their children like what we expect anyway. And might have to go that direction and do that. Now, I know certain dudes, like certain content creators, said that they're going to go get a stupid surrogate and don't want nothing to do with the female aspect because they feel female have no purpose, so they're better off being slaves. I mean, that's just ridiculous. This is just stupid. But it goes back again that when you hear any male, and ladies, I'm going to give you some game. You hear any male talk that crap, say that you're really just a serious object, that, you have no use for me, all this stuff. Like, seriously, no use. And what I mean by no use, let's say, you're going to, play. Well, actually, let me take it back. If a man feels that the only thing that he has no use unless you're dealing with him in a different way, which require what he says personally that he prefer you should be in slavery, nobody deal with him. If he says out his mouth about you should be a slave, I mean, don't bother. Let's leave him alone. Because a lot of these dudes the dudes that harp that message have really been broken and they need some serious counseling. Counseling has to come into play once you as a male feel that, you have a certain abrasion of the opposite sex. You have a certain disdain, an actual disdain where, you look at them as they don't contribute nothing, they have no value besides babies. I mean, that dude might have to go see an actual good therapist to get that correct or looked at. And also applies to ladies that has a problem with men or have a abrasion of men. You have to seek therapy as well. We're going to go balance off the book between both sexes. In the society, non-white, non-black people, black people, you need to go check and get some actual healing mentally before you do anything else. I mean, I would advocate most people that's dating or not dating casually or consistently, there's always get a good, clean bill of actual mental health. So I'd agree with Mr. Samuels that a lot of black people need to get that check out before they do anything else outside their natural environment. Cause I feel too much things are laid out and carried on amongst us. And that's something we could easily control. The mental part. And not only men, but ladies, you need that too, because you got so much unresolved issues. You feel that everything should be titled to you, the world should be kissing your butt, and that there should be guarantees. There is no guarantee. I don't care how many data you read, how many statistics you check about marriage or anything like that. If I even hear this from you and you talking about the downside, all that, I would say you better off. You should not be dating nobody. Man, I would tell you personally, you should have no children. If I want to keep 100, because you don't serve no purpose at all if you're running and thinking like that as a woman. Now, this don't apply to everyone, but the women that think like that, as a man myself or any man, we will clearly look at it and say, you don't serve no purpose. You don't serve purpose to yourself, much as that thinking. So what the hell I get out of dealing with you? But it goes back again, ladies. Men think logically. So you go around and you talk that. There's no really argument to hold. We just leave you alone. Let somebody else deal with your problems. Because 9/10 time, when a woman gets set direction in life, she is very much insane, and she needs, before anything else, she needs to go get her head checked fast. So I'm hoping that this is not a growing trend in this community. But like I said, the more people become more antisocial with the help of technology, the more I think we're going to have more problems with people that already go through some traumatic issues and mental illness already. That it's only going to perpetuate their illness further. It's going to get worse before it gets better. So that will be it for this little short late night edition. Be on the lookout for the next upcoming stream. It's going to be this chapter 4, dealing with the endangered of civilization and the upcoming extinction of the black race. Be on the lookout for that. And also, I will be doing also maybe some live streams on certain articles. It'll probably be on here. It won't be on the other device. So we'll see how things go out. But like always, hope to hear from you again soon, people. So we're gonna go off with a bang. You get me? So thank you for listening. This is Zero Ends.